to Oriel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Pronouns he, him. Um, Calling in from menacing Icelanders. Scary. Who
Huh.
says he'd like to support math to suggest that God is real. Oriel,
Okay.
you are on the line with Forrest and Durante. How you doing?
Hi guys, I'm good. How are you? I don't know what menacing Icelanders is. I think he just typed Michigan, but
Oh, that's it. It says "Am I?" I didn't know what else that meant. I figured that's what that was. Yeah, am
gotcha.
I? I don't know what else that could be.
Yeah, no, that's just
Well,
my good old state. Yeah, how are you
bizarre.
guys
I
doing?
don't know
Yeah, I
why they
just
would type it that way. Then that's dumb. All right. Well, tell us about first of all, Oriel. What God are we talking about today?
yeah. So that's a pretty complex question. I would kind of put it into really realistically numbers because I'm kind of multi-theist. I believe in the Trinity as like the source of all being and creation, but essentially I feel like any religion besides like really like cults and stuff that's not based on any truth whatsoever. Math and geometry essentially is what I'm about, and any religion that kind of follows those that bleed through of understanding of the universe and creation is kind of what I'm about. So Christ, obviously, I don't really want to get into him because I feel like that is like really muddy water for this discussion, right? Because if a man being born like and as saying he's God, like you have to have a leap of faith from understanding what God is. I feel like to even get there. So I'd rather just avoid that whole principle as a whole and just kind of focus on. I did write down some of what I feel like are the characteristics of God. That would help.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I feel like he's uncaused, he's unconditioned, he's timeless, he's infinite, non-contingent, non-local. He's like the primordial or like absolute reality. Omniscient, omnipotent, necessary being, self-existent, ineffable, so beyond words. Just the one who is, and the I am essentially.
Sure.
How did you arrive to those conclusions?
That would probably be mostly from my when I took a class in college on Greek mythology or Greek like philosophical, like Plato and Socrates and all of them discussing what God is essentially.
So
Okay.
are these
And
these
just to be clear,
characteristics are based on the concept of God, not necessarily a God? Is that how you're using that?
Well, I think it's important to distinct the two from each other, right? So, like when I say God with a big G, I'm talking about source or infinite creation that is like beyond words and it's ineffable. And when we're talking about like lowercase g, I'm talking about like primordial forces of nature, which are essentially aspects or rays of God, but not essentially him or it.
How do
I mean,
you
that's the
how do you
primordial
determine
level.
that something is beyond words?
Well, if it's infinite, you can't really. It doesn't matter how many words you put to it. You can certainly try to scaffold it, but at the end of the day, you're just going to be scratching at air.
How do you determine if something is infinite?
Well, it just never ends.
So how would you know that it's infinite?
Because
How
no
would
matter
you be
how
able to
far you
determine that
follow
there
the
is no
line,
end?
because no matter how much effort you put into determining it, it never ends.
How would you
right,
know
but
that?
like they,
If you
just to be clear, there
I mean, we
there
can run
could
AI models
theoretically,
on and try to ask them to count to infinity, and they literally can never finish. So,
sure, but like what I'm saying is there are things like the number Googleplex, right? I could try my whole life to count that number out and I never would, but it's different than infinity, right? So like something
because
that you
you would
can
eventually
try
end.
to find the limits of and fail is not the same thing as infinity. I just want to make sure I heard you right. You said that God is omnipotent, omnipresent. Did you say
Yes,
those two?
yes,
Did you also say omniscient, like all knowing?
yes, yes.
And I can't remember. Did you also say omnibenevolent?
No, but if we're discussing just God, like specifically create like the creator of all things, then I would say yes.
Okay, yeah,
Because
I
once you get
want to
into
make sure I'm
duality,
understanding.
then things got
You've
really
got
weird.
all the you've got all the omnis in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, please continue with Durante. I just wanted to make sure I understood that because that's going to shape a lot of my argument later. I just wanted to understand where we're coming from so I don't mischaracterize the God you believe.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Before we get into that, like I want to get into infinity, but like you guys would agree that we use infinity in mathematical equations that we use in theories to define like the laws of the universe and creation and all that, right? Like black holes, and we use 100%. Infinity as right. Yes. So regardless of me being able to count to it, we use it as a mathematical probability that we just generally agree exists.
Sure, but what Darante was asking you is how have you determined that this God that you believe in is infinite? And it sounds like what you're saying is that you don't actually have any way to measure that or make that determination. You just are putting that forward as an attribute to this God as a philosophical necessity.
Well, that's where we have to get into the math of it. But yes, I would put infinity as a logical description of my God.
Right. Is it a logical one or a measured one is what he's asking.
A logical one if you kind of combine it with Pythagorean mathematics and geometry.
Okay. I have one more quick question before we jump in, if that's okay. Durante, did you have anything else on your train of thought that you wanted to as a presup? Or not presup, as a preliminary? My last preliminary question is, do you, Oriel, have any training or particular talent or expertise in mathematics or geometry?
No, but do I need a PhD to understand math? I mean, I don't.
He didn't ask if you had a PhD.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just asking you if you have any training in that because I don't. I'm a biologist.
I have a bachelor's in psychology,
Durante,
and that's it.
Okay, great. Durante, you're a sociologist, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I'm a biologist. So I have some higher level math training, but like I would not call myself a mathematician by any means. So like if we're talking about mathematics and geometry, I just want to make sure we put a pin right here to just say none of us have any expertise in mathematics. We're just talking about abstracts here. And if you ask me like, well, the statistical this, then this, then this, 0% of the people on this call are equipped to actually take that argument seriously. So like, I just want to make sure we understand that moving forward so that we don't get hung up on talking about math when not a single one of us here can fucking, draw a proper rhombus.
Right. And I just think I don't think you really need to be like a graduate level student in math to really understand what I'm about to dive into. It's more like connecting pieces of puzzles to things you may already find to be true, essentially.
Okay, great.
That sounds bad.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
All right. So essentially what I'm first coming from is as a God being made up of math, all those numbers essentially. And I heard on their previous call, you guys talking about like, I forgot what the theory is called, but essentially like that we're living the matrix or it's a simulation essentially. And those are like, to my knowledge, published papers about that stuff where everything's just zeros and ones, where everything's just ins and outs or on or off switches, basically. And that kind of gets into what I have to say about mathematics as well through Pythagorean mathematics.
Okay. I'm just taking some notes.
And then also, I'm not going to get into geometry until after the fact because that gets a little more multidimensional. But I also wanted to say, like, numbers, right? We discovered them. We didn't invent them. If you go to any language, no matter what they call a number, it's the same number that we're all communicating, right?
Okay.
Right. So math is a universal language.
I agree that mathematics is largely discovered.
Yeah, it's like fire. It's just a universal language. It looks the same to everyone, essentially, if you understand it. All right. So before I get into zeros and ones of creation, so basically breaking down Pythagorean mathematics, the one is represented as the monad, which is like God or source, like the one uncaused cause. And so he's like unity source. He's indivisible. Everything is divisible by him. And then we get into two, where it gets really crazy with the dyad, which is contrast, polarity, or dualism, where you get ignorance and wisdom. This is quick. It's just going through 1 through 10. 3, the triad,
I don't want to hear all 10.
Triangle.
Yeah.
So just skip to the end of this. Each number has some deep. Important. Right. If you want to give me 3, you can. But what I'm trying to get to the end of, like, so it sounds like you're saying each number has this philosophical prescription of like the deeper meaning of the number. Is that fair to summarize what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. There are real world replicas
Okay.
and patterns that exist with these numbers throughout all of creation.
So then where does that take us from there?
Well, and if you don't bring it philosophical, it's not going to work. But 1 goes to 10, right? And 10 is the completion. It's the combination of the 1 and the 0, the something and the nothing. And that binary essentially is where we get into like the Big Bang, right? So like 1 is being, its form, its presence. 0 is like non-being, its void, its potential. And the 2 together is binary code, which like through qubits and all these interesting things, like the left and right hemisphere.
These numbers have meaning. I get it. Where do we go from there? The numbers have meaning. Okay, cool. When I was a kid, I was taught, to think about numbers as symbols to remember number patterns. 1 is a pencil, 2 is a swan. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can give you all these things. It doesn't mean anything. Where do we go with that then? Where does this get us?
Yeah, I feel like if I'm not able to explain these, then are you just looking at them as like anyone can say a number is anything, like, or because like there are these
no,
they actually represent themselves in like.
I'm trying to get to the end of the argument. I'm just trying to fast track us there, because if you give us 10 different meanings, Oriel, if you give us a specific meaning, Oriel, if you give us this like philosophical meaning behind each number, and then we get to the end of the argument and you're like, so there, and that's where it ends, then you've wasted a ton of time.
Oh, I understand.
And if your argument is actually a little bit more interesting than that, then I need to judge whether or not it's worth the time to deal with the 10 special fancy meanings of the numbers. Because at the end of the day, what it sounds like immediately at face value is just some guy's philosophy about God placed onto math, and I don't give a fuck. So just get us to the end.
Gotcha.
When we have the meanings for all the numbers, then what? What does that tell us?
Okay, well, you get back to 0 and 1, essentially nothing and everything. And so 1 minus 1 is essentially God viewing himself as the first motion from 0. And it's like pulses of unity, basically, like breath.
You're still I'm sorry, you're still just telling us what numbers represent. Please just get to the point of what does this tell us about whether or not God is real?
Well, I guess if I had to put it into the most smallest terms possible, 1 minus 1 equals 0, and that equals existence. 1 minus 1 equals infinity, right? Because you have everything between 1 and 1 is the creation of all of the numbers. 1 minus 1 does not equal infinity. Well, it equals all obstacles, like all potential. Plus or minus 1 equals infinity. No, it does not. Like, yes, it
1 minus 1 equals 0. 0 is not all potential.
Right, is the 0 and 1 coming together and destroying each other? That is all potential. That's beginning and the end being in each other, which is where religion talks about.
That's not what you just described.
In the beginning. Well,
and
how
even
is it not?
like, because 1 minus 1 isn't the same thing as 1 plus 0.
1 plus 0 is 1. Right?
Right, but 1 minus 1 is not 1 and 0 coming together to destroy each other. 1 minus 1 is 0, which means the 0 still exists.
1 minus 1 is God coming back to wholeness with himself and destroying himself, and that becoming essentially nothingness from which it came. I mean, 0 is a principle we always talk about with the origin of the universe and Big Bang. We don't know what was before that, and 0 essentially posits that there was nothing before that.
You are still just telling us what philosophical meaning the numbers have and what each number represents to you. You are not telling us anything about whether or not a God is real. I could sit here and tell you the number system my dad taught me, where 9 is a pipe. And if you want to remember the word 19, remember a pencil smoking a pipe, because 1 is a pencil and 9 is a pipe. And then and if you ask me, what does that mean? I can say, well, it makes sense because 1's a pencil and 9's a pipe. It means nothing. Tell me what actually this tells me about the real world.
Universal language. It doesn't matter if you call it a pipe or whatever. It's still a number that exists in mathematics. It doesn't matter if you're.
Yes, it's still a number, but this number isn't a God.
Adding to it.
That's what I'm trying to get across.
Is that everything?
You're adding meanings to the numbers that you haven't demonstrated where the meaning comes from. Nor have you demonstrated what you can actually do with the meaning. You're just saying, someone told me these numbers represent something, but you haven't demonstrated how you can actually prove that those numbers actually represent something.
It's through geometry.
Yes, when Forrest's father teaches him, Yeah, but it's geometry because it's numbers. It's not geometry because you add God to it. It's geometry without the number, without God.
No, but when you get into physics and metaphysics,
okay.
and string
What
theory,
is the one? What does the one
fractal
represent?
reality is
Oriel,
like
what does the one represent? What does the one represent?
the one represents God. It's the monad. It's the
Okay,
first
how
cause,
do you know that?
form, presence,
Okay, how do you
being.
know that? Oriel, how do you know that?
Because when you have something that's completely by itself, it's non-local. It doesn't have any point of what's the word, perspective, right? You are yourself, and there's no one else to view you. You are just everything, and there is nothing else.
So the number one
That's not the
represents
definition of God you gave us.
Like this is amazing.
That's okay. Like I'm not God, and I don't profess to know every aspect of him, but essentially oneness is being non-local, it is being omnipresent in all things.
Why can't I say one is the universe? Because the universe is everything that is and everything that. Okay, so what's the difference? What's the difference? If I say there is no such thing as God, there is just the cosmos. The cosmos is all that ever was and all that ever will be, and 1 represents the cosmos, and 0 represents nothing.
Right.
And 1 minus 1 is the cosmos antithesis against the cosmos, which brings us to nothing. Therefore, the cosmos is all that's real. The cosmos has no agency, has no identity, has no personhood, has no intention, has nothing. None of the attributes prescribed to a god.
Lacking claims because we exist. We have intelligence. We have pattern. The universe has patterns. So those last claims are wrong. Before that, it's just semantics. But after that, you started adding in stuff that has no basis in reality as the reality that we exist.
You defined God as the uncaused cause, the prime mover, something that is all-knowing, all-present, all-loving, and like all these other things. You prescribed agency and personhood and intentionality to God.
Right. But then you started saying that the universe is unintelligent and just kind of a
there is intelligence. There is I didn't say anything about random chance. The universe has things in it with. No, I'm not at all.
Yep.
Nor have I said anything like that ever. The universe contains things which do possess intelligence. There is intelligence within the universe, but the universe itself as a whole is not an intelligent agent. It's like saying that a book is the word and. There's the word and in the book. The word and is part of the book. Without the word and, the book would not be complete. But the word and is not synonymous with the book itself. So you saying that God...
the book.
You saying that God is intelligent and is kind and omnibenevolent and all these things, that is prescribing something to God that I am not prescribing or taking away from the universe. You are making a leap where I am not. And I can define my leap with the same numbers, and it means the same nothing.
Even in just the form of the 1 and the 0, right? The 0 is the circle, and the circle encompasses all things. It's a finite, infinite shape.
Oh my!
And the 1 is a
shape.
stretched line, which through string theory, right? But if you look at it theoretically, which I think you're really struggling to do,
there's
shapes. Like 5% stuff.
There is symbolism
in Chinese characters. In Chinese characters, 1 is also a stretched line, and 2 is two stretched lines.
We didn't invent the circle. Circles exist everywhere. Every single star and planet and moon is
we didn't invent lines
circle.
Either. But I'm just saying, you're saying that a human.
That's not a point.
You are saying that a human-made symbol is the same thing as divine eternal truth, and it's not.
Discovered.
The symbol was not discovered. The symbol was made by humans. The concept of 1, saying I have exactly 1 marker in my hand, that we can argue is a discovered characteristic. And I would argue is a discovered property. But the drawing the shape of a number 1, that is absolutely invented. And by the way, you said 1 is a stretched out line and that's a thing. Some people draw their 1s like this, and those people are sociopaths, and their 1 is just as valid as yours. And it's not a single stretched out line. It has lots. It has lots of lines involved.
But when 1 moves, right? So in the Holy Trinity, 1 through 3 is basically in religion the same number, right? They exist in the same shape, the triangle, right? Without any one of the others, it's not a triangle. So 1 to 2 is where that line comes from. It's a movement of everything to something, right? So you have to move, and that movement is a line straight towards the other one. And we know that because in a triangle, all 3 lines of the triangle are completely straight, completely equilateral.
What straight line makes a 2, Oriel?
Yeah, okay. So I actually am agreeing with you that we invented
in Chinese,
how we look at them.
In
1
Chinese,
through 2, 3, 4,
2
all
straight
of that.
lines is a 2.
But numbers
maybe the Chinese know
right?
God. Maybe the Chinese
let's just ignore
gods.
Well,
Oriel, you have an O at the beginning of your name.
God.
That O is a circle that encompasses everything. Is there some hidden divine meaning in the shape of the letter of O in your name? What can we?
Well,
what divine wisdom?
Not that I've given, but it is a circle. So,
but what if some douchebag gives it meaning? Then it has the meaning.
Well, I don't know why to be Oriel, a douchebag, but like a circle has meaning.
Wasting everybody's time, Oriel. Because we've asked you a simple question 13 times, and you keep just saying, one shape like this.
Look, I agree. Actually, you're right that we did invent how we use, like how we actually write down what a number is, 0, 1, 2. But if you look at shapes, back to where I'm getting with geometry, literally a perfect equilateral triangle is only consisting. You can only draw one with straight lines. So, literally, when we get into string theory and by like everything being vibration. That first line between 1 and 2.
That you are just
because God is infinite, and there's a lot of crazy things that help connect with Him.
I am asking you for a coherent argument for the existence of God, and for 20 minutes now, the reason why I'm being a bit of a douche, I'm being a bit silly with, because all you've given me is word associations. This has lines, and lines are like strings, and string theory is a thing.
Yeah, okay. So maybe
that doesn't mean anything.
Maybe
you said a triangle is 3 equilateral lines, and they have to be all the same length, and that's like string. At what point do the lines in a triangle vibrate? What does that connect to anything?
They were vibrating before that.
Doing word association
they were vibrating before that.
Oh, this is Terrence Howard level now. Yikes.
But I mean, essentially, like if you get all past all that and you get into dodecahedron, because remember, the true expression of numbers.
If this is substantiated, why would we keep going further? Like right now, like you're just saying, like
because you guys are just saying it's not, because I can't explain myself well enough, like articulate this well enough. I understand that.
So I mean, if you can't explain yourself well enough to articulate it, why would you be the person trying to articulate it? Instead of trying to do something that you're failing at, actually go get better at it. Actually say, no, if I'm going to call in, I'm going to know what the hell I'm talking about.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to sculpt my lens so that it is a point where you can understand it. Right now, that's not really where
you first have to do it in a way that you can understand it. If you can't explain it, that is evidence that you don't understand it. You believe it, but you don't understand it. Articulation is the byproduct of understanding. If you understand it, you can articulate it.
Well,
you can't articulate it because you do not understand it. You just believe it.
So it's not really like a normal circumstance where it's easy to articulate. Like this is
a circumstance you chose.
And I understand that. And that's why I'm here. And I'm doing my best to bring my perspective down to yours so that we can have some sort of bridge to a common understanding.
I have to reject that. You're not bringing your perspective down to ours. Like you're projecting.
You guys are very physical right now. All of your existence is based on materialistic reductionism.
You have, number one, you don't actually know if that's true because that hasn't even been a subject of the conversation. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen your other videos, and it's quite clear. It's quite evident.
You've seen my other videos on materialism?
Not you. I haven't. It's the first time I'm actually engaging with you, sir. But Forrest.
Okay, because you said you guys. You said you guys.
I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. That is an assumption I can't make about you.
Yeah, I here's where we're at, man. Is all you have given me thus far is that here are some poetic attachments that you have to numbers. And if you really, really dig into that really hard and squint your eyes, it kind of looks like some physics things sometimes. And that's just not compelling to me. So if there's some part of this that I'm not hearing that you think you could enlighten me on, I would. I'm giving you the time to say it. But as of right now, you've given me nothing. And it's frustrating to
No,
me
yeah,
that we've
I
spent
understand what you're
20
looking for.
minutes. No, I'm looking for coherence. Like
No, yeah, and I
I'm
understand.
frustrated. I'm frustrated, Oriel, because I keep asking. I get that you have these symbols about like what you think numbers mean. What's the point? And you keep saying, well, the numbers mean things. And like it just hasn't
Well, the point
produced
is,
anything. You just have poetry.
you love math, right? Math is great. We agree that math is like some form of truth that we can actually grasp that is
Oh
non-physical.
my goodness. We started
I'm
there.
pretty into
Like we've
math.
already agreed.
Right.
Math is
That's where
great.
I'm
Do your
saying. So
homework.
like what I'm understanding is that I can't just tell you what these things are. I need to literally go back and get step by step why they mean what they mean. I'm happy to do that on a later date.
Because there is no way to do that. What you're actually
Well, there
providing
is.
here is what's called supreme mathematics. It's called supreme mathematics. I'm very familiar with supreme mathematics, and that's why I've been holding my head this whole time, because I know that you have no absolute way of determining these extra meanings that you're attaching these numbers. You literally just heard your favorite rapper say it, and now you're saying it too. And that's just not
Well, I
how
don't like
learning
rap.
works, man. That's not how learning works.
The reason I'm trying to because I thought it was kind of understood already that math literally like orders our entire waking reality. Like there is nowhere in the universe where there's not mathematical pattern and precision of like insane order. And that math is what I'm saying is intelligent. That math is guided by principles that are ever present in all waking realities. And that
But
those
you have not
numbers
actually
themselves
qualified
are
yourself to know that. You just heard somebody say this and now you believe it, which is why you can't articulate it. You can only articulate the belief that you have, but you cannot articulate how you arrived at the conclusions, which is typically a sign of indoctrination, not understanding.
We can literally see in cymatics how sound has like
You
these
can
specific
see
patterns
it.
that exist through all things. You can't see.
Did
You
you
can't Google
what
cymatics and see how
hold
signs.
on. Did you just say I want to hear I think you just said something about sound creating things? Say that again.
So yeah, everything in the universe is vibration. I thought that was a well understood scientific principle.
Okay, so no. This is absolutely. I genuinely like. I'm not even joking. Darante, a second ago, when you were like, you just heard what your favorite rapper said, and you're repeating. I was like, that's harsh. Maybe he heard, but no, absolutely. If you fucking just so we're clear, the vibrations in things like atoms and subatomic particles are not the same thing as sound waves at all.
No, they're not the same thing, but they have the same principle of movement. They vibrate.
No, they don't. And trying to
you just said they vibrate.
Those two vibration, a longitudinal mechanically induced pressure wave is a different circumstance than a fucking intermolecular force. And it sucks that I have to explain that because I'm not a physicist. I just know that because I have an undergrad training and a little bit of that makes it make sense. And these are very different things that you are conflating, and it is a very common bullshit woo-woo creationist thing that people like Deepak Chopra and shit that read the front cover of a physics textbook and then say, this is God, do. And it makes no fucking sense, but it appeals to people who have no training in science. You said you have a bachelor's in psychology, so you don't have any training in any hard sciences. And I hate the term hard science, but I'm using it in a way that differentiates here. Yeah. You don't have any training in any kind of math, in any kind of physics, in any kind of chemistry, in any kind of biology, and yet you're willing to prescribe this intentionality to all of those things because you misunderstood the word vibration. And that sucks. So next time you call in, Oriel, please just think about the things that you're saying and really have an argument with yourself. I'm not genuinely think about it and then ask yourself the kind of questions that you would expect to ask you if you were 5 and you were hearing that for the first time, and just tear yourself apart with it. And when you finally have a solid, actual good reason to believe what you believe, then call me back because I would love to talk to you about this stuff. But as of right now, you've given me nothing but poetry and it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Roger. Yeah, no, and I understand where the disconnect is, absolutely. And I do, you know, I
right.
see your perspective completely. That's why it's so frustrating. So,
All right. Take care, Oriel. I'll talk to you later.
yeah, you have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
To the person who said I'm turning into Matt, how dare you? I haven't grown a goatee at all. I also learned truths and deeper meaning from my favorite raps. My favorite rap. What was it? Not the great American poet Asheru, who once said, I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues.
Ladies sing the blues.
I'm the spark that made your idea bright. The same spark that lights the dark so that you can know your left from your right. I am the ballot in your box, the bullet in the gun, the inner glow that lets you know to call your brother son, the story that's just begun, the promise of what's to come. And I will remain a soldier until the war is won.
What?
Chop, chop, chop. Judo flip. Such a good song. They had no reason to make that song go that hard. They had no reason to make it that good.
Oh my goodness, it was awesome.
So good.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer of The Line, and the rumors are true. Forrest Valkai is, in fact, a hostage in my basement. If you would like to contribute to his freedom one day, you can do so by supporting us over on Patreon or becoming a channel member. There are specific tiers for specific shows or the channel at large. You can also send us super thanks. Those are great. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Also, fudge the algorithm. Go to one of these things. The algorithm doesn't matter. It thinks it knows you better than we do. Better than you do? I know you better. Hank. There's a bunch of people named Hank. I just freaked way out. Okay, go to one of these.